Hello, and welcome to the Complete Analyst. This video is designed to give you a good working definition for this thing we call an operating model. It's part of our What Is series defining common terms that many analysts need to work with. Now, I'm not claiming that this is the only correct definition you can use, but perhaps this one will make your life as an analyst just a little bit easier. So why should you care? As for me, when I've been involved in any effort to deliver some kind of enterprise change, be it large or small, I've often found this thing called an operating model to be at the center of attention. It's the thing that everyone is trying to improve. You hear this term in meetings, during presentations, in sales pitches, in the hallway, or wherever. Everyone else seems to sound pretty confident about what this is, but do they really know? Dig a little deeper and you might find quite radically different understandings of what this actually means. It's confusing, it's exasperating, and it can also drive a great deal of circular conversation and wasted time. Here's an illustration of the problem, and I encourage you to take a moment to try this experiment yourself. Just do a Google image search for operating model, and you will find a bewildering array of different examples in different sizes and shapes. There's another thing you can do. Go out to YouTube and do the same search and watch a few different videos on the topic. I'm not saying that any of these are wrong, and everyone has their own experience they bring to the party. But it does point to an issue that can quite easily get you and your colleagues stuck in a set of circular discussions that take up a great deal of time. So how do we fix this? Now, one thing we could do is argue about this between ourselves and draw lots of different pictures until we arrived at a shared definition. But that can take a pretty long time, and you'll never really likely fully settle on a definition that works for everyone. This is where I will claim that leaning on established standards can make a big difference. I'll have lots more to say about standards in other videos, but I'll just say for now that the standards to do with enterprise architecture can be pretty useful here, and you don't have to be a full-on enterprise architect to benefit from applying them. So I'd like to share a standard that I think will help here. It's the Archimate 3 modeling language standard from the Open Group. It's an enterprise architecture modeling standard that, among other things, gets quite specific about how an operating model is organized and what we call its parts. For our purposes, I've marked it to show the boundaries and scope for the operating model inside the gray box. And you may want to pause this video now and have a closer look. Now, there's lots in here that we could talk about, but I'd like you to focus on the four major layers shown here inside the gray box. These are business, application, technology, and physical. This means that an operating model must include what IT people often call the full stack, including things like business processes, application components, down to technology infrastructure, and even physical objects such as equipment and facilities. It's not just business, and it's not just information technology. It's the whole thing from top to bottom. And finally, this standard helpfully provides the components that make up these layers. Let's call them the nouns for now. So if you're looking at an operating model and these are the nouns you're using to describe it, then you might be on the right track. I've provided links to this standard in the video notes, and I really encourage you to spend some more time exploring it. As you can see from this, the structure of an operating model is a complex landscape. So why not use an already well thought out guide to help you rather than trying to figure this out on your own? So if we now understand our scope of the operating model to be that full stack, we have yet another problem that makes getting our head around the idea of an operating model even harder, especially when we're looking at a representation of it that someone has drawn in a document, on a whiteboard, or wherever. The problem is this: the term operating model, all by itself, is too abstract to describe its different representations over time that you need to pick up and understand. It's like trying to make one term behave in many different ways at the same time, and that only adds to the confusion. So here's my suggested solution. Rather than trying to grasp operating model as one concept, think of it as the root of 6 potential work products that each may exist over time using the pattern when, operating model, what. So let's see how this works. So we start with the tense such as baseline or target, which you may know as current state, future state, or as is and to be. This tells us the when. Is this something we have now, or is this something we want in the future? Then we use the word operating model here as the root. And finally, we add the representation. that describes, more or less, how far we've gone in specifying the operating model. For now, I'll propose that these representations are strategy, vision, and architecture. And when you put all the potential combinations together, you get the 6 potential work products here. You don't need to produce all of these in all cases, but consider for a moment whether you could more easily visualize what each of these 6 might be if you had to write them down. Perhaps you might stop this video and think about that for a moment. See if you can come up with some examples on your own. Now you might have more questions about what I mean by strategy, vision, and architecture, and these are good questions. These are also terms that can cause confusion and frankly waste a lot of your time trying to work them out with others. Look for more on these topics in other videos. So to sum up, there are 2 key takeaways that I encourage you to explore for yourself as you grapple with this thing called an operating model. Be patient with yourself too. There are lots of moving parts to contend with, and operating models can get a bit complicated. First, leveraging a common standard from the world of enterprise architecture, the Archimate modeling language, can provide a quite robust definition of what an operating model is and what it's made up of. Just working from a common and neutral definition can save you a great deal of time. Second, as an analyst, thinking about an operating model as just one thing doesn't really help you deal with all the different representations you'll run into. So try thinking of it as the root of those 6 potential work products I discussed earlier. I hope you found this video to be useful to you, and please look in the links below for more related videos that explore this and other adjacent topics. Thanks for watching.